Hey friends, hey family, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and this is episode 4 of Wellness and Freedom Podcast by me, your host, Panashe. I am so excited to be back again to have a great conversation with you guys. I hope that you have been watching the series for this month because I feel like it has been filled with a little bit of jabs here and there, but some real truth. And so I'm so excited to just be here to talk to you today about redefining courtship and really talking about the issues of courtship, dating, and all of that because I feel like, you know, a lot has been going on in the world. A lot has been going on in the world, and it's very important for every believer to know how to navigate dating and how to navigate relationships in a way that really glorifies God and in a way that also protects your heart and keeps you in check in such a way that you are not going through emotional and mental turmoil just because you're trying to date and you're trying to find a partner for marriage. We're hearing conversations of people, you hear people talking about dating, you hear people talk in the church that I don't like dating, I like courtship. What does that really mean? We need to actually understand what's the difference between the two because considering how the world is, dating has been really redefined into something that is more recreational, more fun, more exciting, the rush, the adrenaline rush, okay? It's been redefined to people having sex before marriage, to people really living together before they get married. It has been redefined into so many things that fit culture, that fit what is going on in the world. So you hear a lot of people say you should go for courtship, don't go for dating. In as much as the two are different, there are certain things that you can pick from dating that are very important in your courtship journey. Courtship is more structured, it's more intentional. People are intentional about what they want, about why they are there. Okay, they are sharing with you, I like you, I want to get to know you because I want to get married to you. Right? There is like a structure into what exactly are we doing per time and what are we looking forward to do and what is this relationship going to lead to. Most of the times when people talk about dating, they're talking about I need to go out and date with a lot of people, I need to find out what they do and all of those kind of things. It's more like a vibes kind of move to say I'll try this person, if they don't work I'll try another person, if they don't work I'll try another person. It's very common for a lot of people begin to compromise their values, their beliefs, because they are just trying to find a partner. When Adam realized that there was none that could partner with him above all the other things that have been created, that is when Eve was brought into the picture because Eve was going to be the suitable helper for the man, right? And so one of the things that I really love to differentiate between dating and courtship is understanding that a lot of times dating is really rooted in just feelings. I see a person, I like them. Okay, I'm going to ask them out. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to do a lot of dates. We're going to have sex. We're going to, you're trying to figure out a person, but you're not really intentional about that person or desirous of that person to actually walk with them into the journey of life, right? It's more just like about your feelings. I'm not saying that courtship does not have feelings, okay? But I'm saying that with dating, it's mostly centered on the feelings, that it is centered on being intentional with the person. And so when it comes to courtship, it is led by the Spirit of God, right? There is that issue where somebody sees someone and they know how to bring that person before God to say, God, this is a girl that I saw and all of that. So they're trying to be led by the Spirit and not just because as a guy, let's just imagine that it's a guy and he's in a church. There are so many single people in the church. If you are someone who's going to be dating, it means that you're going to date a lot of women in the church. And what does that make you? It does not give you an image of a person who really walks with God. People look at you and they say he's a player because he's been with this person and that person. So wisdom in that place is being able to know how to be led by the Spirit and not just by your emotions. Because it's quite easy to just like a lot of people, it's quite easy that your eyes will see, oh, I like this person, oh, I like that person, and I like that person, right? But when you're in the place of saying, I want to pursue something with someone, I really believe that now it has to be led by the Spirit of God, being able to bring the desires that we have, that person that you met, that you like, being able to bring that person before God and to really hear the instructions or the leadings of God about that person. I'm not saying that it's always that God is going to speak to someone that that's your husband or that's your wife. But what I'm just highlighting is the ability to know how to involve God. God wants, involve me, involve me. That's God. God wants to be involved in the process. Because he wants to be involved in the process, it's quite important that as a child, you bring somebody before God and you're like, oh, I like this person. What do you think about this person? That is courtship because it's birthed from the Spirit of God. It's not just birthed from your emotions and your feelings. Yes, you might have seen the person and liked them in your flesh, but at the same time, you are also able to bring that desire before God, that it may be scrutinized by the Spirit in such a way that the day that you decide to pursue, it's really led by the Spirit of God and not just your emotions and not just your thoughts. And if it is a woman and probably you've seen a guy that you like, I don't think it's wise for you as a woman to be just dating each and every single person that you see, right? And just being like, oh, they asked me out, I'm gonna go. Oh, they asked me out, I'm gonna go. Oh, I understand that you are the one who is looked for. It's also wisdom to be able to bring the person that have asked you out before God and tell God, you're my friend. What do you think about this person? Be intentional in such a way that the actions you take in your life are not viewed as someone who is shaky in their behavior, because you need to understand that whatever actions you take in your dating season, they have an impact in how other people will view you. It's quite important that with wisdom, you must be led by the Spirit and not be led by just your flesh. Yes, your flesh is the one that likes. Your flesh is the one that says, oh my God, she's so pretty. Oh my God, he's so handsome. But you need to know how, because sometimes the ways of ourself can actually be for our distraction. And it's very important that we are able to involve God in intimacy, to speak to him about the certain things that we have seen that we like. If you are led by the Spirit, you realize that you don't have to be in courtship with a lot of people, because when you have time to spend with God, you know when God is telling you, lay that down. That's not for you. That's not for this season. I heard someone share a beautiful story. And she shared that there was a guy, and this guy really liked her. But she brought that person before God and told God that this is a person that likes me. And after she told God, God told her that she was not supposed to date this person. And she decided to follow what the Lord said. What happened now, years later, is that she meets her husband, and her husband is a close friend to that person. So imagine if she had taken time to date this person and just do whatever with that person. And now the time comes for her to meet her husband. And then the husband is probably showing his friend, like, oh, I met this girl. And then he's like, I've been with that girl. I did this, I did this, I did this. Now you lose your value, you lose your dignity, your self-worth is disparaged by this person. And even if that person wanted to be intentional in courtship with you, they are not going to do that because of what they have heard and what they have received from other people about the character that you have or the behaviors of the person that you are or the things that you did with that person. They'll probably be like, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person because of the things that they did. When I heard that story, it kind of highlighted the importance of being in relationship with the Lord. You need to desire bringing each and every suitor to God, or bringing each and every woman you're interested in to God and laying them before him, the Lord questions, in order for you to pursue. If we live by the Spirit, let us also walk by the Spirit. Walking by the Spirit is being able to have the discerning spirit, to have the ability to hear what God would say about something. So I believe that it is very important that we are actually walking by the Spirit of God so that we do not fulfill the desires of the flesh. The other reason why I say that courtship is very intentional, it's because most of the times you have to look at the nature of the person. What are their values? What are their beliefs? Where are they going in life? What do they want to achieve? At the end of their life, what do they want to be remembered for? You look at those things and you look at how that align to the nature of you. How does that align to your own desires, your own vision, your own goals? Because when it's intentional, you're understanding we are going the same direction. It might not be similar, but it's the same thing that you are desiring to do. It's the same results you want to see. You need to know yourself. When you know yourself, you know where you're going and what is meant to be done by your life. And therefore, whoever that you are coming in agreement with, whoever that you bring before the Lord, able to vet them and see, are we going in the same direction? That is intentionality. Because most of the times with dating, it's only centered on, oh, she's attractive. Let me just date her and see how things go. or let me just be with this person because probably they have the money or they actually have a social status. So you pick people with certain attributes and certain characteristics or certain nature because you know how that would appeal to the world. But is it really led by the Spirit? It's not led by the Spirit, it's led by your emotions, your flesh, your own desires, and the things that you've allowed to be misconceptions about what it is like to choose a life partner. So I really believe that it's very important to know yourself first, know where you're going. That's now intentionality to saying that I am courting this person because we understand each other and we understand the things we are meant to do in the world and our assignments, our calling, our purpose. We are aligned. And therefore, because we are aligned, we can actually try to build a relationship and build that relationship in that it would lead into marriage. Another difference between courtship and dating is understanding that in courtship, you honor God and you submit to God. That is different from dating. In dating, we are not thinking, I need to seek the Lord's counsel concerning this person. And you're not even thinking about honoring God with your body. But when it comes to courtship, it's two individuals that have made a decision personally by themselves that I want to give my body to God as a living sacrifice. I want to honor God and submit my body to God. Therefore, God is in charge of my body. I'm not just waiting to not have sex before marriage just because it's the right thing to do, or that's what the Lord says, but it's because it's a decision I have made in my knowledge of God and in my way of honoring God with my life. And then they come together and they honor that decision that they made. In such the way that they show that they honor that decision is also how they put in boundaries, how they put in strategies so that they do not fall into temptation. It may be looking like how now they don't have to be in the same house, just the two of them. They don't have to go to places where they are just the two of them because they recognize that this areas are actually breeding room from temptation. If they are going on vacations, they're probably going to go with another friend couple in such a way that they are not going to be sleeping in the same room because they recognize that this is ground for temptation, right? And so it's centered around honoring God and honoring God in your decisions, in the things that you do, in the places you go, in the people you align with. That is also how you honor God in courtship. That's different with dating. It's mostly about, are we sexually compatible, which is a very questionable thing because you can never be very compatible with the person. You don't know how compatible you are. In that moment, you're compatible because of your own adrenaline rush, your flesh rush. But when it comes to now walking into marriage, it requires being committed. So it's more about sexual commitment than it is about sexual compatibility because now you need to be committed to that person, to learning their body and to understand how their body will change per season and per time with changes of life, with sicknesses that may come, with pregnancies. Their drive, their abilities will change. And are you willing to also submit yourself to that change in order that you move with them in who they are becoming? But when you think about the compatibility you get before marriage, you need to realize that it won't be the same through marriage. And that can be frustrating because you got in with a mindset of what you had in dating that is wrong about what marriage looks like. In dating, you have a mindset about things that are superficial most of the times. The things that you have in your mind are completely not the reality of what life would look like. But in courtship, you are preparing yourself of what marriage would look like, of how sometimes seasons will change. And when they change, because we know how to submit ourselves to God, we understand that we can also be submitted to the process of change and move together through that change. The other difference is knowing that in courtship, it's always the fruit of the Spirit. In dating, it's usually the fruit of the flesh. In courtship, there's a desire for people to know each other and know the nature of a person. I remember I had something that Pastor Delapolawal said, and he said something like, if you are desiring that this relationship would lead to marriage, stop introducing kissing. Don't introduce touching each other, because the moment you do that, that's the only thing you look forward to each time you meet. So you guys don't talk anymore. You probably even hide conflict behind this rush that you are running to, right? Because there's a conflict, you try to hide, you try to cover that conflict by running into the things of your flesh, right? You build a toxic mindset in relationship and in marriage because there are a lot of things you guys don't talk about that you cover by an act of sex. You cannot weigh someone's fruit of the Spirit if you're already contaminated in your thoughts and in your flesh. I really believe that what sex does is it closes your perception. It veils you from seeing the reality of the person and who who they are. Know this nature of a person. Are they tolerant? Are they patient? Are they long suffering? Are they kind? Are they gentle? Do they have a sense of faithfulness in them? Are they honest? Are they transparent? Are they truthful in the way they handle things? Do they tell the truth? When you have introduced a lot of other things of the flesh, it's quite easy for you to actually not discern the lies that people will be telling you. It's quite easy for you to not see how that person does not know even how to communicate or how to handle conflict, because each time where it's required to communicate or where it's required to address conflict, you shift the things of your flesh. And so that is why courtship is important, because when you do courtship, you are desiring to communicate. You want to know the mind of the person. You want to understand how they function. You want to see if they carry the fruits of the Spirit. If there is a possibility that we might end up into temptation, do we have the self-control, the fruit of the Spirit, to actually say we are not supposed to engage in this because our desire is to serve God with our bodies? We have the boundaries and we must keep up with the boundaries we put in place. When you lay the boundary of saying all you desire is courtship, you kind of sift a lot of people out already. When people already see what you stand for and people already see your values, it sifts a lot of people away, because they already know with this person, I cannot go and play jokes. They know how to come correct. They know how to come knowing that I'm not going to waste her time. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to show up knowing exactly what I want and how I am going to do it, and knowing how to actually bring that before God. That's why I also advocate about having a relationship with God, because a lot of people will say, well, that is what you Christian girls would do, and that's why you're ending up in wrong relationships, because when you do that, a guy will just pretend and come to you and act like he's intentional and stuff like that, and he disappears. But if you have a relationship with God, you can discern that. If you know how to walk with God and inquire with God, you can be able to discern that this person is only just trying to pretend and act like he is intentional when he's not. It's also important having accountability partners, having people that you trust that desire to pray for you. If you have pastors that you are submitted to, if you have leaders that you submitted to, mentors that you have in your life, parents that you can go to, it's very important that you have a dynamic of people that you can go to for counsel. I'm not saying they are the ones who are supposed to make the decision for you. In actual fact, at the end of the day, you are the one who's supposed to make a decision. But what I'm saying about having other people that are not invested in emotions in the relationship, it gives them a better, clearer view about the two of you. People that have their heart for you. Their heart is for you. They're not trying to sabotage what you have, but their desire is that you walk in everything God has assigned for you. When that courtship starts, I believe there are some people that you're supposed to approach and tell them, because when you tell them, they will pray for you, they will give counsel, and they will help you to walk in this relationship with understanding, also helping you to keep up with your boundaries. So you're accountable to someone. It's very important to not be in courtship with any man who is not accountable to anyone. They need to have someone they're accountable to. It's whenever you have any problems, you can go to that person who they're accountable to, and you can talk to them. And that person can get through to that person that you're with, because they have a relationship of accountability. It's very important that that person that you are going into a relationship with or in courtship with, they submit to someone. They should have somebody they listen to. They should have someone of authority that they listen to, and that person, they value the advice and the instructions that come from that person. They should have that person in their lives. Courtship is not hidden. In dating, people hide their relationships. I don't want them to know what is going on between us. It's just supposed to be us, just you and me and all of that. It sounds cute. It sounds nice that you guys care about yourselves, but what you don't understand is there are things about that person you might never know. If only you could go to your church leader and ask, what do you know about this person? This person is asking me out. What do you think about him? There are things they'll probably know in the church. They'll be like, hey, don't try it. This girl tried it, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Sometimes it's just about letting people know. I don't believe that a relationship should be hidden and a secret. It should be open to people around you, especially the people that know the person you're with. That relationship should be open to them in such a way that you can actually know about the nature of this person, especially if you're meeting that person in the church community and probably you are new in that church. Ask the people in the church. They know. They have information, they have files. They will tell you about that person. I believe having mentors, having leaders, having counselors asking the Lord to give you the right counselors that you can go to, people that will counsel you, also premarital counseling, and even before the premarital counseling, people that you can just go to, even if it's personal counseling, and speaking to them, people that have examples of great marriages that are desiring to see a great marriage come out of you and the other person. They are willing to help you spot certain things that they say you need to deal with this thing now because it's going to affect you in marriage in this way and that way. And so having people, not neglecting the counsel of old. I think I shared about it last week, and I say that the scriptures talk about you older women counsel these younger women, teach them, these younger women, guide these younger women. We should not neglect the counsel of people of the old, right? In as much as there are certain things we might not agree with, but it is not good to neglect the counsel all in all, because there are things that they know that apply in every marriage that if we could just learn from them, we would save ourselves the 10 years or 15 years of mistakes. Because what's the use of having mentors if you are not going to learn from them? Because having mentors is to save yourself from making the same mistakes they made, because they're going to tell you, you know what, I made this mistake, I allowed this behavior to keep going, and this is how it cost me. You need to deal with this behavior now. That is very important because they help you to have a clear-headed mindset with the decision that you will make, because a marriage is the biggest decision of your life that will determine how far you will go in your purpose, your calling, and your assignment. The person you work with will determine whether you succeed or you fail, will determine if you will fulfill destiny or you will not, because they are the greatest influence you will have after God in your life. In fact, they may actually be more influential to you if you don't have a grounding in God. They'll be more influential to you than God. I have seen a lot of relationships in a few people that I'm around, and I've seen them walk into courtship, and I've seen them being intentional in those relationships, and I've seen those relationships amount to marriage as what they said from the beginning, that you know what, we want to be together, we want to pursue this because we want to get married. And I saw those people being intentional about their journey, approaching their accountability partners, seeking counsel, listening to their parents, listening to the advice of the people around them, and seeing God speak to their families and their parents about the people that they are about to get married to. So I believe that I love courtship because it's intentional, it's structured, it's led by God, it's not just led by emotions. Like I said, I don't dismiss that emotions are involved, because you're supposed to like the person. They're supposed to be your friend. You're supposed to like spending time with them. So obviously emotions are involved, but they are not the sole ground of what it represents. Do I believe that there is one person for everybody, for one person? I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I still maintain that God can speak to you about person. God can pick a spouse for you. I believe it. I believe that God can do it if you let Him. This is my view. Okay. I've heard a lot of people's views, and I also believe that some of the views are right. But in my own understanding, I still do believe that God can also pick somebody for you. Why I believe this is because the scriptures talk about, I come in the volume of the books of what is written concerning me. If everything about my life is written in God, and every time I think about a job, I have to ask God, should I pick this one or not? And God tells me the one to take. Should I go to this school or not? And God tells me the one to go to. Should I do this? And God tells me what to do. Why is it that in marriage, we suddenly have a lot of options than every other area, right? So I'm not dismissing that there are people that there's a kind of person that actually fits the destiny and calling of your assignment. But I also believe there are certain people, if you desire, God can pick. And I also believe that there are certain people God, by wisdom, will make sure that those people end up together because of the assignment and the calling that has been set apart for their lives. I do believe that God makes sure that this person and this person must end up together because of what I intend to do with them. Though I also believe that you are allowed to make a choice. I also believe that God has given us free will. So you are allowed to make the choice. You can hear, and the other person might hear and say no. So that's another thing. Another person may hear and say no. But I also understand that God brings people together for partnership, because He did that with Barnabas and Paul. In as much as they ended up fighting in the end, but God had separated the two of them. So I believe God can separate two people, but for that relationship to work, it's not solely based on God. It's solely based on the two people that they actually want the relationship to work, because that's what made Paul and Barnabas' relationship to not work, because the two of them were in contention and they could not fix their conflicts. Because of that, that relationship failed, in as much as God was the one who outlined that this is the relationship. So I also believe that in as much as God can actually pick, it does not dismiss you from doing the work. It does not dismiss you from showing up. It does not dismiss you from being honest, transparent, sharing about yourself, opening up to your trauma, and working through your trauma in order for a relationship to survive. I believe that still your work is required, because without your work, it will fail. No, it goes spoil. It spoils still. It goes spoil even if God is the one who spoke about it, right? And so I do believe, in my own understanding, that God can make a choice for someone if that person is willing to ask the Lord to make the choice for them. And I also believe God allows people to make choices. He has given you free will, so you are allowed to say, this is what I want. The word of God talks about the perfect will of God and the acceptable will of God. In the perfect will of God, I prefer to be in what is the perfect will of God than what is just an acceptable one. In as much as the acceptable one is also the good will of God, it's still good, right? But it's just not exactly the perfect one. And so I believe that when we seek the instructions of God and the leading of God, God is able to lead us into his perfect will. There is definitely a kind of a person for someone because of their destiny and their assignment and what God desires for them to do. There are always people that fit that assignment of being a spouse. And I also believe that still God can also choose. So I believe that in whatever area you find yourself, if you find yourself being the one God will choose for, that's amazing. If you find yourself being the one God will allow a kind of people to come to you and you make the choice of the one you want, that is also good. In all things, make sure that you walk in courtship. Make sure that you pick people that are kind, loving, sacrificial, tolerant, that desire to love like Christ, to die to self, that desire to put in the work, because marriage, relationships, all of that desires a lot of work to be done to see it actually, to see it come to fulfillment, and to see the 60 years, the 50 years, the 40 years, the 20 years together. It's work. It's not just vibes. Marriage is the real life. It's not just vibes. So you need to be preparing yourself through courtship for that which you will see in marriage. That is why courtship is important. That is why I would say choose courtship, because of how it's intentional and structured. It allows you to actually learn and apply yourself to what marriage looks like. And really, during that courtship too, take books like I shared last week. Find books that you can read those books together, learn something together about marriage, about your expectations in marriage, about the things that you want to see. So it's now about asking each other the right questions. What number of children do you want to have? What do you want to achieve in life? What are your goals? Talk about the money. How are we going to handle finances? What are your habits with money? What are my habits with money? How are we going to manage the finances in our home? You need to ask those questions. You need to ask the deep questions about your household and how you would want it to thrive. Thinking about, okay, we want to build a home like this, but what kind of family background do you come from? What kind, because each person comes from they come from somewhere. So wherever you come from, you come with whatever you have from your background of your family, right? And so you need to learn each other's background, study the background of their life, study their family, study what they do, and begin to think, okay, how is our family we want to build going to fit into the ecosystem of these two families we both come from? And how are we going to do things differently in our own home, right? It's very important to study the spiritual patterns of the family, study the natural patterns of the family, study how they think, how they operate. All of those things are very important, and you do them through courtship, because most of the times we just care about, oh, we're going out, we're doing all of these things in dating, but you are not preparing yourself for a life with that person together. If I end up without legs, if I end up being infertile, take the tests, go for the blood test, have a date where you go for blood tests, have a blood test together, go for fertility tests together. Don't let things be surprises to you in marriage and be like, oh, I didn't know, but you had the time to find out. I heard someone talk about how a couple get together and they get married and the wife cannot even have children. And then the man is asking, what's going on? And she said, but you didn't ask. Ask the right questions. Stop just letting it be about your favorite color. Yes, you should know the favorite color and the favorite food and what makes them tick, what makes them happy. They're amazing. But ask the right questions about how to actually build a life with the person. Because if you do not ask the questions about building a life, you will be surprised. And I understand that people's decisions may change as time goes on. But if you're someone who wants to build your career person, or you are somebody who wants to build their businesses, you want to thrive and all of that, that, you should make sure that the person that you are with in courtship is not intimidated by you. They will not stifle your growth. They will not stifle you from becoming all God has ordained for you to be. So you need to study that nature of a person. That's why you need to have other eyes of other people who can see beyond emotions, that this person will actually support the anointing on your life, or support the call on your life, or support what God intends to do through you because of the way they show up, the way they support you, or the way they do things in your life. So I believe that asking all of the right questions is very important. Ask everything. Let it be an interview if that's the case. Let the courtship stage be an interview, because you must know everything and you must ask every possible question. Ask if what happens if we never have children, because each time of the things that you disregard is they are not important. The moment that you are together in the house, those things will begin to matter, and you'll be shocked that, oh my God, why didn't I think this person thinks like this? It's because you never asked. You never asked the person, and therefore you're being shocked by their way of thinking and the way of doing things, because you never spend time getting to know the person. So spend time getting to know the person in courtship. Stop spending that time just praying and fasting, because a lot of people, they spend that time just praying and fasting. We are praying and fasting for the marriage to work. We are praying and fasting for our parents to approve. We are praying and fasting for all of these things. You spend a lot of time investing yourselves in prayer and fasting. I'm not saying that's wrong to pray and to fast, but I'm saying don't be deceived by the enemy to end up spending a lot of time praying and fasting more than actually knowing the person, because you can pray and fast and the parents approve and everything happens, but at the same time you are with a stranger when you get into that house. So you need to know the person that you are going to be walking in courtship with. Get to know the person. If you guys tell me in the comments, do you want me to tell you the questions I believe every person should ask? Because I have a whole lot of them, because I always write them down when I listen to certain people or I read books or all of those things. It kind of gives me a, oh my God, I actually need to know what that person would think about this. I actually need to know what they would think about this, because it's very important to know how their mind operates and the nature of who they are. But anyway, thank you so much for listening up to this far. I hope that as you walk through the journey of courtship, the Lord would guide you, would strengthen you, would show you hidden things that you don't know, and would give you wisdom in how to navigate every season of the lives of the people that you're going to be working with. And I hope that you also invest in having mentors, accountability partners, and people that you can trust to bring up certain things with them, because I believe that that is very necessary in the area of counsel. The word of the Lord talks about there is, in the midst of counsel, there is safety. So there is safety in being able to just seek the counsel of other people. Not saying they make the decision for you. You have to make the decision after God has spoken, after you have asked the people, and all of those things. You are the one who makes the decision. Nobody has to make the decision for you. Not even the pastor that you ask for advice. Not even the friends that you ask for advice. They are not the ones who make the decision. The decision is solely on you. And you are the one who will make everything work because you made the decision. I hope this was very insightful for you, because it has been for me. And it was nice spending time with you, and hoping that you listened, you learned, you grew, and I hope that you apply it in your life and in your journey, and that the Lord would guide you and strengthen you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video and in the next episode for our podcast. Bye.